there, Anthony McCormack here from Hayman Partners with our market wrap, covering off on what's making news this month in our real estate markets. First up, home buyers' budgets have been slashed by hundreds of thousands of dollars as rising interest rates squeeze the amount the average Australian can now borrow. 5 rate rises since May this year have trimmed the loan size that buyers can qualify for, and the flow-on effect has put downward pressure on house prices. A couple on an average income of $180,000 can now borrow $264,000 less than they could in April, and a single income earner can borrow $115,000 less than they could earlier in the year. The cut to borrowing power could worsen as interest rate rises continue to rise. As buyers' budgets have been cut, house values are falling. The latest CoreLogic Home Value Index showed house values in Sydney had already dropped 7.6% since the peak, while Melbourne's fell 4.6%. Other capitals have also recorded falls in more recent months, with Canberra coming in at a drop of 2.9%. The shift to working from home drove more than half of the increase in house and rent prices during the pandemic, and will likely continue to force up costs and inflation as the shift becomes permanent. The transition to remote work because of the pandemic has been a key driver of the recent surge in housing prices. As mentioned in previous posts, house prices rose approximately 24% in the 2 years ended to November 2021. More than 60% of that increase is attributable to the rise in work from home during the pandemic, and this is a trend that has persisted, with 30% of the work still being done from home as of last month. Recent average mortgage payments show new borrowers spending about 31.5% of household income on meeting mortgage payments in the September quarter. And that was likely to increase to about 33% by the end of the year, not far below the peak of 34% of the late 1980s when borrowing costs surged to over 18%. This is an era that we hear lots about from older generations, and it's interesting to see how these cycles come back into play at different times. On a different note, the Queensland Premier has been forced to dump a controversial land tax after weeks of damaging headlines, culminating in her being abandoned by her fellow state and territory leaders at a dinner at the Lodge recently. To work effectively, the tax, which would have applied to thousands of interstate landlords who own investment property in Queensland, needed other states to share personal data of their citizens with the Queensland government. But at the dinner ahead of the recent National Cabinet meeting in Canberra, New South Wales Premier Dominic Perrottet, who has been a vocal opponent of the tax, said his state would not cooperate. Other state leaders, including Victorian Labor Premier Dan Andrews, made it clear that they were not happy about being asked to help lift taxes on their own constituents to help Queensland balance its budget. Interesting times. Well, that's it for this market wrap. Look forward to keeping you up to date over the coming months. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.